a fat voyeur, a fat voyeur, a very famous voyeur, actually, who is overweight and is very, very upset right now. And it's too funny to me to not make fun of him. So I'm sorry. Joshua Connor Moon will get a little bit of treatment as he he recorded one of the most pathetic cope streams I've ever seen. You guys may not be familiar with Josh Moon, like other than knowing that he's the owner of Kiwi Farms. You may not have ever been exposed to him. But we're going to start with this because, as you know, Josh Moon is a loser twice over in going after my body cam. And by twice over, I mean a permanent loser. He's already a loser in general, a very strange individual. We won't get too much into his personal history. It would gross you out a lot. This is a long-term disgusting man. But that being said, he cannot do even one push-up, and his BMI needs a calculator to actually figure out. Like, he is large. But more importantly, he's a giant baby. Josh Moon has had a Rekieta segment on his show every week for the past 3 years, ever since he got butthurt. And I told him he was very autistic and was missing some things and getting facts wrong, and gave him specific examples of facts that I know are incorrect. This caused him to go into a hissy fit and cry. And then for the next 3 years, he had a weekly Rekieta Law segment and reveled in my downfall, which he should have. That's completely appropriate. I don't begrudge anybody for following that. I did for a while, right? Like, that happened, but I don't anymore. Like, I get it. And like I said, I deserved it. I made some bad choices. That though is is something Josh is incapable of. And that's part of the funniness of this. And you'll understand when we go through the clip. And this is a clip from his show, Mad at the Internet, in which Josh started out looking at people who were mad at the internet. Mad at the internet is a phrase commonly used on Kiwi Farms to describe someone who is having a fucking tantrum. The funniest thing is that you are what you eat, and Josh eats him. I don't know how to finish that joke. Josh has become the thing that he has criticized. I noticed it years ago. I tried to tell him, and that made him mad at the internet. Very mad at the internet, actually. And he's been on a vindictive spurg quest ever since. Again, having a weekly Rekieta Law segment to talk about anything and everything related to Nick. This is his reaction to finding out that he has now lost both cases for the body camera footage. And it's about 10 minutes, and we'll go through it. And there's some things in there I want to address. Address is an interesting word, though, because Josh is fat enough that he has his own address. Actually, when he goes outside, he has a literal address, a mailing address. The postman will come up to him and deliver stuff, just like he is a house because of his catastrophic weight. But, cardiovascular health doesn't matter when all you do is sit around and bitch about how your addiction to Shota porn has ruined your sex life that you never had anyway. Fat loser. Here we go.
Aldo news. Here you go. It's going to be right up in front. Here's what's happened. I mentioned that there would be 3 prongs of attack on the Baldo front in order to...
Gay. What are you talking about? There's going to be 3 prongs of attack. Josh, this is not supposed to be personal. The whole premise of Kiwi Farms was it was never supposed to be personal. You're supposed to just watch, not touch. Because when you look but don't touch, you get to pretend that you're above whatever is going on. But you aren't. You aren't. You never were. And you've only gotten less consistent or more consistently terrible. One of those, however you want to word that, and sillier and angrier and more prone to defeat over the years. The funny thing is, like, Josh may have some notion in his head that like he won something or whatever. Like I said, he reveled in my poor decision making, but that motherfucker didn't even have a chance to ruin my life. I kicked his ass on that one too. His attempt on it was rather embarrassing. Well, you're gonna have a fat prepubescent voice on a show every week, like they're supposed to do me in. No, cocaine and women, brother, and it's way faster than a fat nerd can ever accomplish. Always has been, always will be. It's a rule of nature. But that said, I don't even know where I just like to make fun of Josh now because he's such a bitch. He's such a pussy, and he's so mad. Here we go.
To hopefully get the body cam footage released. Here's how the
echo. I got it. It's gone now.
This is progressing. Despite objectively being in the legal right in every way, shape, and form, the state and the defendant of Nicholas Rekieta have conspired the entire way to conceal this body cam footage for reasons unknown to me.
For reasons unknown to me, says Josh. Josh, the reason they're unknown to you is because you never read the law. The law. And neither, apparently, did your two licensed in Minnesota attorneys, but the law, the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act, says very explicitly that body cam footage, absent a death or a police weapons discharge, body cam footage is confidential until the close of the investigation. And then it moves to private status, which means there is no right of public access for any of it. There's no right of public access to body cam footage in Minnesota. I know. Boo-hoo. People don't like it. I don't make the rules. That's just the rule. Unless, again, an officer discharges a weapon or someone dies. When that happens, body cam footage becomes, it becomes public. It's now in the public concern. Minnesota is a state. Not all states are like this. That wanted to balance the privacy interests of its people versus the public's interest in access to information. Okay, for whatever purposes, I don't know. This law has been this way for a long time. I didn't make it. I didn't have anything to do with it. I just read it and am not an idiot, and so I can read exactly what was going to happen in regards to the body cam footage. Now, I was of course concerned because you can always get an erroneous sort of decision by a judge, which actually has happened to me, believe it or not, in regards to the body cam, where it was released to two people erroneously. But that was always an error, and the state may actually be liable to me for, me and my family members for several $100,000, or possibly into the seven figures, because of the release of that body cam footage. On two different people, releases of two different body cam videos. That's quite a bit of statutory damages that are in there. If we pursue that, I have time to pursue that, to make that decision or not. But if Josh would have just read the law, he would know why he didn't have access to this in the first place. But he would also have answered a different question. He would have also answered a different question that he doesn't get why the court moved so fast. Once we knew what was going on, the court moved really quickly to correct the issue. The court has potentially exposed the county and by extension the state of Minnesota to a massive amount of liability. Because the Government Data Practices Act specifically has a statute that says if they release this, there's not only the regular damages that happen, an invasion of privacy of 10 people in the video who are not government employees. Wait, sorry, 9. But whatever, it doesn't matter. The invasion of privacy of all these people. Each one of those plaintiffs are entitled to statutory damages. The state is not immune. They can't claim immunity on this. And there's some potential issues with this lawsuit. It's not as obvious as I'm making it sound. If it was, I would have already sued the state over it. But there's some things, and you always want to make sure your law is correct before you go in, as correct as you can do that, so you don't end up like Josh, who's a fat loser. But if you understand that, if you just read the statute and read the penalties for the state releasing data that is private, and realize how many people are involved in this, you'll understand really quickly why the state was reclassifying that within hours and rescinding the order that was erroneous. There's a really poor choice by Judge Wenzel to allow access to that video. I believe it was Judge Wenzel. But all you had to do was read the law, you retard. All you had to do was just read anything about it. It says very clearly that you can't have access to this. I tried to tell you from the start, and I tried to tell you nicely. Not that it really matters if I say something nice or not. Okay, back to this fatso.
The court, the prosecutor, and Nick Rekieta have filed motions together and approved them within hours of being filed, within minutes of court even opening, to try and suppress body cam footage, which so far has been seen by 2 people.
Before that happened, I yelled at the sheriff. Said, "What the fuck are you people doing? You can't do this." Although he was like, I say yelled. I didn't speak sternly. I didn't swear at him. I was not rude. I was, I had a particular mission that needed to be accomplished quickly, and I needed his help figuring out what had gone on in the first place, which then allowed us the opportunity to rectify the problem once it was identified. But yeah, this is not a mystery, Josh. And there's no concealing or covering up. That he's going to whine about concealing and covering up. You never had a right of access ever to the data. There was an error by the court staff. You're going to blame my attorney. My attorney doesn't have the ability to do what you said. But the court staff, and you'll find this out about Josh, is once you know the facts of something, and this is what I called him about, this is what made him mad. This was his tantrum. This is a 3-year-long tantrum that goes back to what I said to him in the shower. Josh, you are getting facts dramatically wrong, and they're not hard facts to understand. I didn't know you were doing this until you started talking about me. I don't really care that you're talking about me. I don't care that you say negative stuff. But dude, you have myopia and you have an echo chamber that reinforces it. But you are wrong on basic things because of it. He still is. He will misstate everything in it. He doesn't even seem to know what's happening in his case, because as he talks about it, it's actually incorrect. It's wild to see. It's only wild because it's just Hallmark Josh. Like that's his problem.
Same day, within minutes of court opening and within minutes of somebody showing up to witness the body cam footage, the clerk of court was already made aware that body cam footage was to be concealed, and she was turned away at the door. Then an appeal was filed, and a FOIA request lawsuit was filed against the county. Separate acts. The the appeal that was filed with the state appellate court asked.
Okay, he describes this and then like changes up the order. So yes, the first thing was attacking the judge's reclassification of the body cam footage, because the court clerk erroneously categorized the body camera footage as evidence. Body camera footage was never offered in court. It was not accepted as evidence. So that never occurred. It was erroneously marked that way by the court staff, county administrator or the court clerk, whichever. One of those two. Doesn't really matter. One of them did that. I don't know why. I don't know how they messed that up. I really don't. We specifically didn't introduce the body cam footage because we specifically disposed of issue 3 in my omnibus motion prior to the hearing and prior to any discussion of the evidence, other than the judge asking what we wanted to do, and my lawyer saying, we're getting rid of those because we're not dealing with that issue. I resolved it with the county attorney. And this is something that Josh doesn't seem to understand. We resolved this issue prior to the hearing even starting. So he's going to say that we relied on the body cam footage or whatever in the motion. It's cited in the motion, but, you know, like anything in that issue, that third issue there, was removed. The third issue wasn't even discussed by the court, other than to say, hey, you guys, what are we doing with this? And both parties saying, we're done. We got it taken care of. Redneck Hipster says, God, his voice is so nasally and whiny. Is he one of them? I call him Joshua Connor Troon for a reason. The reason is because he, he's likely trans. So yes, yeah, he is.
Just remember, Nick admits he talks to cholesterol-ridden virgins while in the shower. This is truly the most embarrassing thing cocaine and wild sex did to him.
So I was texting, I wasn't on the phone with him. I was texting Josh and trying to get this through to him. I was in Corpus Christi, Texas at a rented condo on the beach, and for a family reunion, I think. And it's like midnight, and I start texting him, and I needed to take a shower before going to bed. Josh is texting me and texting me and texting me. And so eventually I'm like, I am not like, I don't have time to stay out of it. So he's getting more and more mad. And I eventually just said, I've just been texting you from the shower. Like, it was mostly a joke. Like, it was true, but it was just a joke. It was to break the tension. He fucking lost it. He's like, oh my God, so gross. Like, I'm not videoing like or taking pictures or whatever. I'm texting you. Like, is it better to text you? Like, is that different than like texting you from bed? Like, I'm naked both times. I'm naked right now under these clothes.
I am going to laugh so hard if these morons trying to dig into your life to get their rocks off are the reason that you get hundreds of thousands of dollars. Dumbasses.
That would be funny. That'd be some or whatever. But I don't even want to like begin to contemplate winning that. I mean, I think under the law, they did violate it. Like, but the question is, does the statute authorize us to go after the right parties and stuff like that? And that's a question I don't have the answer to. I need to consult someone. I've just been busy.
Bromka of many different things, why they decided to appeal this decision when there was an ongoing FOIA case. And that was one of their main reasons for hammering him during oral arguments. He's
going to praise Bromke, whatever his lawyer's name is. The dude was fucking embarrassingly bad. He was bad at oral argument. His briefing is bad. His reasoning is bad. His citations are bad. All of it was bad. I don't know why. Like, I don't get it, other than the fact that this attempt isn't authorized by the law. So he doesn't have any way to make a good argument. There isn't a good argument for it in Minnesota. Under the current legal structure, you'd have to petition to change the laws, like through Congress, to get a different outcome. So maybe that was his problem. But he's like praises him and says he's super cool and stuff. Maybe he is, but in this case, his performance was pretty abysmal. And his performance at the oral arguments was really, really poor, really poor.
Arguments, which, by the way, despite it being an intervention case in which the state was the one presenting arguments, Nick Rekieta's personal attorney showed up and made oral arguments on behalf of the state.
See, this is where Josh, again, gets a basic fact wrong. The state is not the only party to this appeal. And my lawyer didn't make arguments on behalf of the attorney. My lawyer of the county attorney. The county attorney didn't show up. He showed up an hour late. So my lawyer took over the entire argument, but he didn't argue on behalf of the county. He argued on behalf of me and my interests. And, we opposed. Reminder that we had a joint petition with the county to properly classify these body cameras as not public, as not evidence. And so when they appealed that, they necessarily made me and the county co-respondents. We were both respondents, though. We didn't step in and intervene. You did, or tried to, through Hardin, tried to intervene. We didn't. I was already a party to the case, you fucking tard. But again, Josh, you're in a weird echo chamber with other autistic weirdos. Just because they write at a 10th grade level, which is higher than a lot of people, doesn't mean that they're actually smart or have a grasp on what's going on. In my case, they really never did. But hey, whatever.
The state's attorney actually showed up an hour late to its own oral arguments in the appellate court.
This was crazy because, like, if you were representing a client at the appellate court and you were an hour late with no explanation, like you might even get disciplined straight out for that. Nothing's going to happen to the county attorney. I don't really want anything to happen to him or whatever. I'm appreciative of the work that they've done on this case. Even though what they're doing is upholding the law, like they're doing the appropriate thing. Josh is going to go into his theory that I own the county and that I have like deep connections. Hey, Josh, if I owned the county and had deep connections, do you really think they would have kicked my fucking door down and searched my entire house and then leaked documents illegal? By the way, some of those documents were illegally leaked. Not all of them. Some of them, just came out normally. Some of them were illegally leaked as well. If I owned the county, this shit wouldn't have happened. Dummy. What a great outcome. I own the county and yeah, now I'm on 5 years probation. The charges would have been, what are you talking about? What a weirdo. Oh, also fat.
And was told by the judge that his testimony was no longer needed because he was so late. Then they won.
He wasn't told that by the judge, actually. My attorney just said, I think he might be prejudiced because he missed the first part of the argument of the other party. I could take on the whole thing if the court is okay with that, because he was there for all of it, so he could respond adequately. The judge didn't say this. Josh doesn't know the facts. He doesn't know what's happening. He always acts like he does. He never does.
And in the FOIA case actually dropped before the appellate court made its decision, saying there was no need for them to file a FOIA case because there's an ongoing intervention case that had been yet to be heard. And they dismissed that with...
It hadn't yet to be heard. Completely incorrect. It had a final order. That was the main problem that you had. The crazy thing is, had you timed it differently, you might have had both those cases in the time where the first one didn't have the final order. Then there would have been a bigger fight over the collateral attack and whether or not it was a collateral attack, because if there's no order, you can't really have a collateral attack. But the timing that you guys implemented caused this issue. You raised the issue in this one case where you intervened and tried to get this to take place, right? Your collateral attack, had you filed it and pursued it right away, would have, they could have run parallel, perhaps. Maybe you could have constructed an argument about it, but you didn't do that. You did it wrong. And so you got a final order in the first case. And by the time you filed in the second case, it was too late.
With prejudice, despite it being a technicality. So on the civil case, there was a Gordian knot. They said that there's an appellate case for the intervention happening. The intervention case is saying there's a FOIA case happening. The FOIA case gets dismissed with prejudice, despite it being a technicality. And the appellate...
That's not a technicality, dummy. Collateral attacks are not permissible under Minnesota law. That's not a technicality. Judicial economy, you need to put everything about one matter into one thing. Fire your shot right away. Right away. You could have included, you could have gone after it in the other case by itself. You could have asked to vacate the existing order, whatever. You fucked up. But it didn't matter that you fucked up, by the way. I want you to know that, Josh. Like, you're a loser. You weren't going to win if you had done it differently. They would have still come to the same conclusion, as they said in all of their rulings, because it's the basic law. But at least you wouldn't have been like as embarrassed, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you would have. Chad Meme 69 member for 3 months says, I thought the tip voice was over exaggerated. Oh no. Oh no. No, the vocal fry on Joshua Moon is something of low testosterone legend.
Appellate court rules on everything you could possibly say, saying that you have no standing to file an intervention, and even if you did, go for yourself, you don't have a right.
Correct.
And now we're thinking, okay, do we go to the Supreme Court? Because that would be the next step, the Supreme Court of Minnesota.
The Supreme Court already wrote the rule that says you can't do this. They're asking your lawyer at the oral argument, hey, like, what about this rule from the Supreme Court called stuff uploaded to Mindy's is not evidence until offered and accepted in a court? It's called Rule on Mindy's from the Supreme Court. Yeah, try it. See how it goes. I wonder if they're going to change their mind for you, Josh. It'll be pretty good, I bet. What are you thinking? What do you think is going to happen in all this stuff? Josh is one of the most self-important people on the planet. He thinks that his dumb website, and he would tell me this on the phone all the time. He would tell me like about the metrics of his website and how big Kiwi Farms really is. It's not. It's actually not a big website at all. But he would tell me about how big it was. It's like, okay, that's cool. Those numbers sound, they don't like sound as big as most YouTube channels. But all right, like okay. He thinks Kiwi Farms is like this force, this tidal force on the globe, especially on the internet, and that it should be deferred to and respected. You watch mentally handicapped people like me drool on themselves. Like, you're not special. The only special things you were doing, you've kind of stopped doing. And that was archiving the internet, archiving major events, and stopping governments from shutting down shutting down videos and information. Like the Christchurch shooting video is a great one, great example of it. And Josh was really good on that issue, protecting and preserving the ability of the world to see the massacre at Christchurch, because the massacre was important to see, and the New Zealand government tried to suppress it. That was when Josh was, he was still a fucking creep, but at least he was sane. At least he had a mission that mattered. but no, instead he's been going after Nick Rekieta's body cam footage, which we'll talk about that in a bit.
Well, we don't really have to do that, because guess what? The Supreme Court controls the rules of the court in Minnesota, and the rules.
Not actually.
Speaking of things, Josh lies about the size of.
The Supreme Court of the United States does not control the rules of the courts of Minnesota. The Supreme Court can make rulings on U.S. constitutional issues that become the minimum bar that states have to abide by. That's not controlling the rules of the courts. They don't actually get to do that. That's set by the states. That's a federalism issue, state sovereignty. Wrong again.
And the Supreme Court has received guidance from one person in particular, who is actually the county clerk of Kandiyohi, who was the person who I believe turned away the third woman there to see the body cam footage at the door. She has filed a recommendation to the Supreme Court explicitly addressing our legal right to this body cam footage.
Okay, so I didn't know about this till earlier today when I saw this clip. Okay, this is amazing. Not only did Josh and his crack legal team get hollowed the fuck out by both district courts and the Court of Appeals, but the county clerk actually decided on their own to go the extra mile to warn the Supreme Court about this issue and say, some people are retarded and will try and waste everyone's time with this. Can you send clarifying rules about that? Even though there's already a specific rule on point, but send out a clarifying rule. So they have decided to, on their own volition, because you failed so hard, go the extra mile to try and get the Supreme Court to clarify that you were wrong, even though you're likely not going to appeal it. How fat and loserly are you, Josh? That's bad, brother. That's bad. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of a county administrator going, yeah, this guy lost so hard, I need to tell the Supreme Court about it. I need to tell them, like, this guy really fucking got hammered here. That's embarrassing, bro. And again, if your two lawyers didn't tell you this was going to happen, then you should look into malpractice accusations or ethics accusations against them because they didn't do their jobs. I can only conclude that Bromke and Hardin adequately represented you and did their jobs as licensed Minnesota attorneys, the vaunted ranks of licensed Minnesota attorneys. I can only conclude that they did the research and they properly advised you that you were going to lose. And I think you're really worried that your audience is going to find out that you knew you were going to lose and you still took their money and promised them and promised them and promised them they were going to get what you were going to give them. But I know your lawyers ethically had to tell you you're going to lose. The law is so clear on this that I don't know how else to say it.
Explaining that when Nick Rekieta's personal attorney filed something into evidence and then later tried to retract it, there needs to be explicit
We didn't file it into evidence.
rules prohibiting third parties from accessing retracted evidence. And there needs to be, under penalty of sanction,
It was uploaded to the Mindy system because that's the legal requirement since COVID. It has to be done. And our county was one of the first counties. It was in the test group. But it's active statewide now. We were required to upload those to Mindy's because they might be used at the hearing. Required by the rule in the law. This is why the Supreme Court had to write a clarifying opinion saying that stuff uploaded isn't actually in evidence. It has to still be offered and accepted. This is a relatively new system, and it took some getting used to, and there were errors and stuff like that. But you are required in Candy-Ojai County to upload any potential evidence prior to the hearing. It's not like we chose to do this. It's not like we wanted to do that or anything. We didn't know if we were going to offer the body cam footage or not. We didn't know if we were going to take on that third thing, but we might have. We might have had to do it depending on how the court wanted to deal with that. It was required by law to do this, Josh. And again, you have two Minnesota lawyers working for you. You should know this. They should know this.
rules that prohibit lawyers from making such mistakes.
Wait, the volume of the video is too loud? Holy shit. For me, it's really quiet. I'll turn it down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And also penalties applied if they do make such mistakes, and also tools for judges to effectively hide evidence that was submitted under, quote, a mistake, even though that evidence was entered in and actually led to the plea agreement, which Nick Rekieta signed with the...
It was never entered in. Again, this is a basic fact that Josh keeps getting wrong. The court has said it over and over. The appeals court has said it. The other court said it. I've said it. I know he doesn't trust me, but, you know, like, I don't know what else to do on this. They were never offered to the court. And those body-worn cameras were not in any way involved in the plea negotiation, which you are not privy to. And plea negotiations are private. I can talk about it now, like I could say whatever happened in it because it's what happened. But plea negotiations are private. That being said, the body-worn camera footage isn't a part of them at all. The plea agreement was really simple. I'd plead guilty to the possession charges. They would drop the bogus children and gun charges, which actually they offered to do before I said anything. The only sticking points we had were I wanted no jail time, which we ended up getting, and I wanted the charges against April and Lady Raggets dropped. And they didn't want to do that. And I said, okay, well, I guess we're going to trial. And then the judge said, was trying to call us in for the hearing. And I said, are you going to drop the charges against the women? Just do that, and we're good. And they said, okay, we'll drop the charges against the women. Cool, done deal. That's it. It didn't have anything to do with body-worn camera footage, because that is taken care of already under the law. It's not accessible to you. You don't get it. You're like a toddler whose toy has been put behind glass. You don't get it. You'll never get it. You can't have it. Sorry.
State. So it was used in some capacity to decide his settlement agreement with the state.
Nope, not in any capacity at all. The body-worn camera footage was not there. I don't even know if they would have used the body-worn camera footage in court if we went to trial. They didn't need to really do that. Like, they probably would have, I guess, but like, it wasn't necessary for the case. Even if we went to trial, they didn't need that. They had all the evidence footage, or all the evidence photos. They logged everything. They didn't need to do the camera. And actually playing the body-worn camera footage of to a jury might annoy the jury because it's long. There's 9 of them, and they're at least 2 hours each. So, they don't really want to go through all that. But, what's reality?
But despite that, they were actually rewriting rules directly referencing what happened in this case to make sure that evidence does not enter the public, that they don't want entering the public in the future, with no groundwork laid for appeals. And so we already know, because this is going already to the state Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court probably would rule against us anyways. That's what that means. They
already did. That's what you and your lawyer refused to read and refused to acknowledge. And what the fucking appeals court was like, what about this, though? What about this? What about this? The Supreme Court has already ruled on this, and it didn't have anything to do with me at all. They knew the limitations of the system, and they knew what they were asking people to do, and they knew that people would be dumb. So they had to clarify, just because it's uploaded to Mindus doesn't mean it's actually evidence. And there are classifications. There's not accepted, and there's, not offered, not accepted, and then there's evidence if it has been offered and accepted. One is public, one is not. For whatever reason, the drop-down menu that they had, they clicked the wrong thing on both those files. I don't know. I don't know why. They just did. But that was never a thing other than a mistake.
basically said, go yourself on the FOIA case. They said, absolutely go yourself on the appellate case. And the Supreme Court has recommendations in front of it by the same people who just said, go yourself, for them to make new rules to extra super say, go yourself to anybody trying to do this in the future to gain access to something that the courts don't want them to get access to. So that's what's happening. They basically telegraphed already that they will not hear us if we submit to the Supreme Court. Now, we could submit to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. You may not think...
This is where Josh's masturbatory self-importance comes into play. Every time he's like, oh, we could take this thing up to SCOTUS. I mean, you can, but Minnesota gets to set its rules on this issue. SCOTUS is going to say, what the fuck are you talking about? And his lawyer's going to say, well, there's a First Amendment right of access. And SCOTUS, I'll tell you right now, here's what they would do. They would say, what documents were sealed that are not publicly accessible? Because all of the right of access cases, all of them, every one of them cited by Bromke, involves documents being sealed in the case. No documents are sealed in my case. Everything that was used in my case is public. All of the evidence is there. All of the files are publicly available. You don't even have to go into the courthouse. You can download them all from the comfort of your living room. All of those are public. The judge didn't seal a single thing. We didn't ask him to. There was no purpose in doing so. And asking it would have been, maybe a bridge too far. All of that's public. You can go find it. But what isn't in the case can't be made public. That's just not how it works. The Supreme Court is going to go, we already have rules on right of access, and has to do with with sealing files and then keeping those files from defendants, typically. And then a media company comes in and asserts the public rights of access to kind of assist, and then they get access to the documents. But those documents are sealed, usually because they're top secret, they involve counterterrorism shit or whatever.
This because he's my attorney, and there's no way I have a really cool attorney. But Matthew Hardin's a very cool guy, and he represents a lot of really cool people, and he does a lot of really cool stuff. Right now, he's super busy because he's indulged in a lot of cool stuff. I don't want to talk about because I don't know
We'd
if
love
he's
to
okay
know
with me
what it
talking
is.
about it. But he's got his hands in many.
I've heard a little bit different stuff than that, but I like Matthew Hardin. And then he tried some bullshit, and it felt a little personal at times, but I don't think it was. And but that said, I kind of like the guy. But I'm curious what cool stuff he does. Maybe he'd do an interview.
And he's a freedom fighter. He goes out and he tries to find ways to make his legal knowledge useful, even if it's not the most obscenely profitable practice. Bromka,
how unprofitable is it? That's a weird question.
Is a state prosecutor in North Dakota, and he just started a big law
That's your problem. You hired a prosecutor. They live life on easy mode.
firm with a partner, and he's very money oriented. And he won't be able to help us moving forward because he represents the state of Minnesota in some other case. So right now there's a conflict.
This is actually really funny because Bromka is either telling Josh to fuck off or he's dumb. And I don't know which one it is, because what Josh is about to say that Bromka says to him is completely incorrect. It's completely incorrect. The Minnesota rules specifically account for this. And it's done all the time. Severability of the case to make sure that there's no improper access through the firm on representing clients. Bromke is either completely wrong and dumb, which is possible, like I did see his performance or whatever, or he's lying to Josh, and which is effectively him telling Josh to fuck off because this is stupid. Pick your poison. It's great. Here we go.
Of interest for him, or sorry, his partner represents the state of Minnesota, and since they're a part of a law firm, that means that he believes he cannot represent us in a case.
That is so obviously wrong. It's so. This is, this is basic law student stuff. They know once you take your professional responsibility course, you know that you can, as long as you don't have the conflict, the other partner or you, whoever, can be severed from those files and kept away from them so that there isn't a contamination, so that there isn't an actual conflict of interest. Again, there's specific rules around it. Law firms do it all the time. He's starting a big law firm, according to Josh, which means he should definitely know that. Like, definitely know that is doable. And here's a funny clue.
Against Minnesota because his law firm partner is representing the state in a different capacity. Hardin actually disagrees with his interpretation, but there's.
You know why Hardin disagrees with his interpretation? Because it's so wrong, and it's so obviously wrong. But hey, I don't know. I don't know what the
nothing like he's helping us for free. So if he thinks that there's a conflict and he doesn't want to risk it, we don't have any say in the matter. He's provided thousands of dollars of resources for absolutely nothing, and so has Hardin. And the only money I paid him is probably less than $1,000 just to cover the file.
Then those two are losers also for doing this for free and still fucking losing and wasting their time and everybody else's.
Fees for the free work that he's done to try and see some First Amendment, constitutionally protected media access.
Constitutionally protected media access
to criminal evidence that
go through puberty, you bitch.
Was used to render a criminal plea agreement. And when I think about this stuff that they're up to and how cool it is, and I think about Nick Rekieta, I just think it's such a phenomenal waste of their time to ask them to involve themselves in this pig shit. Nick Rekieta is like too low for Jerry Springer or Maury Povich at this point. The last clip.
Listen to this butthurt bitch. He has spent the past 3 years every single week having a segment about me. I was so worth watching. Everything. Boom, boom, boom. Gotta talk about Rekieta. Gotta talk about Rekieta. Gotta talk about Rekieta. Crazy. Oh, no, right. Rekieta's just so low. Not even worth paying attention for these cool fucking other attorneys. They're so awesome. Okay, Josh. You don't sound angry and bitter at all.
I saw of him was the one I played on stream, and he just looked like such a f***ing loser. He is such a f***ing loser.
Oh no. Hello, fellow kids. May I touch you, please? Hey, Josh, why don't you talk about Shota porn a little bit more and how that's the only way you can get off? Why don't you go ahead and do that? All right. You can talk more about how you're, from before you had Kiwi Farms, when you were on that other forum and you were talking about how you could only finish with the thought of at least illustrated minor males, and how you questioned your sexuality. But yeah, you know what? That's fine. Here you go. This might be the more appropriate picture, actually. You really get down to it. Fat loser. And I can't even stand to listen to him. Like, his voice just grates on me. He's got an obnoxious personality. He's a crackhead alcoholic who fucked up his entire life and his kids' lives, and he killed a. They're all. It's all fucked up. It's all dead. Everything's gone. Everything's lost in the ocean or whatever. I mean, I'm still married. My children are still like around, and everything's like pretty good lately, actually. But okay. But he's about to say something egregious here, and this is really frustrating to me. I don't normally get too bent out of shape about people being stupid, but this is a persistent lie that's pushed by a couple really awful people. I did not kill a dog at all. The dog was being watched by a paid dog sitter at their house while I was in Florida with the rest of my family. I did not kill a dog, you fucking cunt. It's really shitty to say, because that was, I'm not the biggest fan of dogs. I'm pretty open about that. I like this new one. She's cute. She's funny. But I'm not the biggest fan of them. Really, I'm not the biggest fan of owning them, because I travel, and if you travel, you have to have someone to take care of the dog, and maybe then they don't take care of the dog very well, and the dog eats rat poison, and it dies while you're 1,500 miles away, and you have to tell your kids about, when we get home, your dog is dead. Like, I didn't kill a dog, you faggot. But thanks, for that one. But yeah, that's a nice actual lie that's propagated, and animal cruelty is something that's actually damaging to people's reputations, even if they already have bad ones. So just as a notice, I didn't do that. I would never do that. I don't have rat poison in my house. It didn't take place at my house. So fuck you, you fat retard.
Dog, and I don't want anything to do with him. And I feel really bad for asking two people who have really cool.
I don't want anything to do with him. Josh, you crowdfunded money to try and see this footage. Now you don't want anything to do with me? My God, I'll send you my pubic hair, you fucking obsessed weirdo.
Things that they work on.
You can make a little doll out of it and call it Shota, your little friend.
Who spend their precious time pursuing something like this. So even though I really, really, really want the body cam, actually, I don't even give a.
I don't even want it. I don't even care. I'm doing more important, cool stuff over here. in my website where we save the world
anymore. Like, Rekieta is so nasty that
you have no idea. You have no idea how nasty I can be, Josh. But that's because you're fat and I don't have to be nasty because angina will get you eventually.
I don't have any interest in talking about him because he's just such an insufferable. And I hope that he just languishes in absolute obscurity. And
Josh, I have bad news. That's not going to be the case, my friend.
Sucks his own dick to an audience of less than 100 people, which is what he deserves.
We have a member show here where we're just fucking around. We have 1,000 people watching at 1:30 in the morning. Josh, I think maybe you're going to have to suffer a little bit longer before I fade into obscurity.
And every day he's going to wake up and his kids are going to resent him because he up their lives.
It's always the childless, right? It's always the childless who are like, this is how kids are going to react to something. Josh, you still don't even know the facts. You don't know anything about it. And I'll just say I'm very comfortable with the relationships I have with my kids. Much more comfortable than any relationships you have with anyone because you're a loser who's lonely and gross.
And ruin their home. And I don't have to do anything to punish him, and I don't even care. Like, I've seen the notes of the body.
I don't even care. I don't even care. I don't care.
Footage, and I get it. It's a hoarder house. The dog was kept in a bathroom, and
yeah, you hired an insane woman to write the notes down. She said something. Josh is going to say the notes are consistent, but just as an example, she said that the entire floor was covered with liquor bottles, but also the entire floor was covered with laundry. And so I don't know which one it is. I'm not really sure how to describe which one was it, but pick one, Josh. But the cops didn't say anything about a floor covered in liquor bottles. Well, that would have been cool though. Like, I don't know how to walk on that, but I'll try.
All over the place. Their kids didn't have access to food or clean clothes. I get it.
That is holy shit. Again, I've shown the pictures of our kids' clothing closet specifically because it's an entire room. Like, it's a large room dedicated just to their clothing. But, the idea that my kids didn't have access to clean clothes is crazy. Like, it's crazy. We had a ton of laundry. Yeah, we have a ton of laundry. There were 8 people living in that house. That's a lot of fucking laundry every single day. 2 of them were women, which means there's 9 outfits each. Jesus. One of them is a preening, prissy lawyer. So that's 4 outfits just there. Sorry, there was a lot of laundry in my house. There was. That's real. That's true. It was not covering the entire floor. That's not true. That's nonsense. But the reason there was laundry out on the floor is because that's next to the laundry room. Sorry, we got a lot of people, and you go through a week with 8 people in your house. See how much fucking laundry it is. It's crazy town.
I understand. I know what that looks like. I've seen it a bunch of times before. Here's the thing. As I said, I have
You haven't.
spent all the money for the fundraiser. That was $6,005 that we have fundraised for this. In light of the fact that Rekieta killed his dog, and because he's saying that, or other people are saying that don't like me, that I stole this money, I'm going to donate $6,005 worth of cryptocurrency to this shelter. And in fact, if you want to adopt a pet, I looked through there. So
Nick killed his dog, so I'm going to donate the money to a random animal shelter. Oh, okay. Good job. You should probably give it back to the people that you promised were going to get this. You promised them you were going to get this footage. You said that like, I remember how you sounded when he's like, I'm going to fucking get that. I'm going to immediately go home and I'm going to put it on and I'm going to broadcast and I'm going to watch straight through the whole thing. Everybody else in the whole world. Josh, my God, man. Get a grip, Sally. You're a fucking weirdo.
I'm just going to drop all of it, even the money that I already spent on filing fees. I'm going to wash my hands of this. If
You're not going to wash your hands of this because I'm going after that $6,000, and it's going to be really funny if I win it.
Harden and Sean and him had some kind of plan. I don't know if they want to go through with it because it's just so obvious at this point that Minnesota is just a corrupt shithole. And it's like, do I really?
Minnesota's a corrupt shithole because they won't let me do something that the law doesn't allow at all for anybody. Josh, brother.
Is anything going to change? Is our bullshit little lawsuit going to change anything?
Nope.
Are we really going to win? If we have to
No.
go to the Supreme Court, is it worth the $10,000 to file in the Supreme Court?
Yes,
And
it is.
And
Do
it's
that.
not. It's really not. So if they want to do it, I will support them. I will help with filing fees and stuff. I'll advertise. If they want to, that proposed rule that would change the way that we could do something funny and submit comments to the proposed rule, but they don't give a
We'll submit public comments. Those matter. That's going to happen. Hey, we want to look at someone's kids on a home raid video. And I want to broadcast it to other pedophiles. Okay. Yeah, the Supreme Court really we want to do that, I guess. Thanks for the comment, sir or madam.
corrupt. Nick Rekieta has money. His family obviously has ties in the government. They all want to help him sweep it up.
My family likes the Minnesota Zoo. My kids have enjoyed the Minnesota Zoo, their whole lives. And my family has donated a significant amount of money to the Minnesota Zoo. Josh believes that those donations to the Minnesota Zoo somehow provided access to Minnesota politicians, of whom I have never, ever even encountered at the Minnesota Zoo. And that through that access, we were able to buy my illustrious victories of a pretty straightforward plea deal and then the law. He cannot process the fact that he got it wrong. He can't. It doesn't enter his mind in any way. It's not possible that Josh just was completely fucking wrong, got wrapped up in his own myopia and couldn't see it. Sharon P. says, Jason Moon, well, it's Joshua Moon, but Jason Moon too, needs to get a life. He's obsessed with how mildly pretty Nick is. I think Josh may have a little bit. This is probably it. I hadn't even thought of that. It probably wiggles for the first time in years when Josh tunes into my channel. It's okay, Josh. It happens to the best of us. I'm watching myself right now and I'm horny. Fletcher boy Nick, would the Eighth Circuit even take this case? The Eighth Circuit would not, because it's not a federal case. However, if you can convince the U.S. Supreme Court itself that there's a federal question involved, you could appeal it to the Supreme Court of the United States. They may have to go through the Supreme Court of Minnesota first and get rejected, but I don't really know, on that level of appellate procedure. I'd have to look it up. It's not really worth it. Long story short, the odds of getting cert on any issue, much less one like this, much less one that involves real federalism questions, the Supreme Court doesn't get to tell Minnesota what it can do with how it preserves data that it owns and involves the privacy of its own citizens. Just like they can't tell Florida that they can't do what they do.
Wants to do coke and his life and be an alcoholic and abuse his kids.
Josh, I haven't had a drink in 290 days. I don't even know how long it's been since I, last had an illegal drug. But longer than that. 290 days ago was April 15th. I was sentenced on April 18th. I was under no restrictive conditions in my criminal case. Having a drink was not a problem. Just so we're all very clear on that. But you can call me a coke-addicted alcoholic all you want, my friend. But sobriety has felt really, really good. Took a minute. And I know how much it pisses you off. It almost makes me want to never drink again. But we'll see. I got plenty of time to decide on that. You might not, because you're fat and your cardiovascular system is as much of a failure as you. Oh, and Josh, you're also still poor.
And feed his dog rat poison. They'll soup it up for him endlessly. From Josh.
Minnesota Zoo, notorious rat poison dog killer protectors. It's just embarrassing at this point, baby girl.
Matt, Oliver, Sean, and Sneeders worldwide. There we go. That's nice. All right. I'm now $6,000 poorer, and I consider this matter
That was kind of interesting, wasn't it? Josh is $6,000 poorer, but that was never his money. That was money that belonged to Kiwi farmers that was supposed to go to a specific purpose. But Josh considered it his money. I'm $6,000 poorer. No, you never had that $6,000. You were holding it in trust. You promised something. You didn't deliver it. You should refund the money.
resolved. And Ethan Ralph really should have taken my bet. I don't know what to tell him.
You know, I don't actually know, but I believe Ethan Ralph made the bet. But, you know, I've heard conflicting things on that. That's between them. I don't care. I don't care. I thought the lawyer cost $1,000. What was the other $5,000 for? Yeah, the lawyer didn't even charge him, apparently. It was just filing fees. You know. But like he said, I'm going to go after fees on Josh because I shouldn't have had to deal with this. It was obviously frivolous. It was bullshit. And he admitted to doing it frivolously on his stupid forum. But hey, who knows? Who knows how that'll turn out? Again, I don't have any faith in winning that, even though I believe I'd be justified in asking. I don't have any faith in winning. But I'm probably going to ask. I'm probably going to ask Josh, just so you know. And I'm going to go after your lawyers for it. Because I guess he's the plaintiff. Even though, like, you're obviously regarding this as your own mission that you've been on. So the lawyer was a straw plaintiff, but whatever. That doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to do that and gloat because Josh Moon is a fat loser who cannot even do one push-up. And he has lost over and over in his stupid quest for no reason to come after me to get my body cam footage. But he'll never get it. He's lost. And now I didn't even want it anyway. Like a child throwing a tantrum. I don't get my toys. Which is how Josh lives his entire life. He has never, ever matured out of that stage. And he's told me this over the phone. That Kiwi Farms is his way to have his toys that he watches and plays with. And when people mess with them, and they mess with Chris Chan, it personally offended Josh because that's his toy. Josh, you're a weirdo, buddy. Weird.